Yeah,
Okay, we should be live on YouTube. Joe is still in the waiting room, so I'm not sure if he's going to be able to join right now or not.
Let me check with him. I think he'll be here.
Okay.
There we go.
Morning, everybody.
good morning, Joe.
Sorry, I was having a little manual dexterity issues with the mouse.
Of all things, a mouse.
Yep.
So are we waiting on anyone else, or shall we go ahead and get started, Ryan?
I think we're good to go. No one else indicated they'd be here, but if they are, we'll make sure and let them in.
All right.
I think Nathan said he'd if possible he's gonna be late. He got pulled into something else.
Okay. Well, I guess welcome. It's been a while since a bunch of us have been here. I know our last meeting was January 18th, and it was the smallest meeting that's ever been had. It was one-on-one with me and Ryan. So I'm glad to see a few more faces here. So I guess we can start out. Ryan, if you want to do the status of the budget, upcoming priorities.
Okay. I'm actually going to let Jonathan, if it's okay, talk about the budget on.
Okay.
Sure. And hopefully we've bounced through the packets, but yeah, I can share my screen and just run through the numbers real quick.
Okay.
Oh, everybody can see it. Everybody with me?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so you can see the total support came in. Luckily, the state continues to fund us at 100%. We got the 149, just kicked us over that 5% for salary raises and then offset for benefits. As you guys, we've talked about it over and over. Just kind of really having a great year with admissions. That looks a little off because, well, we use a 3-year running average, or we did. We've extended that to a 5-year total. So that, and then we took out the COVID years. So you'll see in the next budget that forecast is, I think, roughly 80,000 in admissions. So not really a rounding error. Just we had the 3 years with COVID in there really kind of set us back. Receipts from the city and county. As always, Christy's done an amazing job with those relationships, and she continues to build them with Henry County Public Schools, Martinsville City Public Schools, the city council, and then, of course, the Henry County guys out there. Just a wonderful job Christy does with her team. Number 4 really gets interesting here, 300% over. That is the reason you can see the offset to the federal budgeted received, and we'll talk about that in a second, but so there were funds that came to us from the Department of Defense, so the DoD, and originally that was supposed to be federally direct, and then they partnered with the Smithsonian. So this all has to do with the CHML, the Cultural Heritage Monitoring Lab, and because those became having to go through the Smithsonian, they became pass-through funds. And therefore, they had to go through the foundation first before being transferred over. So that just kind of explains away that large number there. Keep on going. Souvenir sales, just like your admissions, up here. The souvenir sales looking great. Kind of same thing, 3-year running average. We've kicked that out to a 5-year average, and then we've thrown out the outlier of COVID for the next budget cycle. And then number 6 here, you guys can tell that 200,000 up here should have been translated down to this line. The exciting news on federal funds is the 79,000, and that was to offset the cost of the solar installation, parts, components, for the solar ESCO project this year. Jump on down, everybody's looking good. Salaries right in line. You know, we got 1 quarter left. We're at 75%, so can't complain there. I think travel, just an ongoing note that we have. Travel here, it's already, you know, over what we thought it'd be. So that was in part due to the trip to Wyoming this year. So that always comes in. And when Ryan's going over advancement notes, I think he can speak to that. There's a IMLS grant, I believe, that should go to pay for that moving forward. Utilities, we are slowly seeing the benefits of the ESCO project. There were a lot of renovations done to the roof at Douglas, so that, you know, having 2 buildings, one of which had almost 0 utility usage before, to, you know, having a roof put on, obviously there you're going to see a little bit of an uptick there. Vehicle and fuel. Well, let's talk about insurance. So insurance is one of those items that we saved at the end of the year. We can, if there's any issues with the budget or any surprises, we kind of keep that in our back pocket too. We can pay that either this fiscal year or next fiscal year, just the way that the 30 days work. So we'll get invoiced for insurance around the 15th of June, and we have to the 15th of July to pay it. So we can either spend it this year out of this fiscal year's budget, or if there's any surprises, a water pump goes out, or you know, anything that might cause us to need a little extra funds, that can be kicked over to the next fiscal year. Exhibit rental, jumping down to 13, exhibit rentals. That is the deposit for the Masters of the Night exhibit. So the Bats exhibit coming next year. So we're always kind of working ahead, planning ahead. And then the right here, you see the total operating expenses. This looks like a big number right now, and it is. But we have all the salary left to come out, the benefits left to come out. There's some other utilities in there, so it'll reflect more of that carryover expense by the end of this fiscal year. And if anybody has any questions, I'll happy to answer them.
On number 4 on our revenue for restricted gifts and grants research, it's got 2 lines, and there's one for rental of museum rooms, and we're doing really good on that this year. Are we renting out stuff more? All this, because I don't remember it being that high the last one we had.
Yeah, that's a turnover from just deposits. So deposits come in, and then we pay those back out. As far as museum rentals, it's looking really good going into the end of the year.
Because I know that was something that everybody seems to talk about, is what are we doing to get into other places and people getting our stuff. And then I'm seeing it looks really good there. So
Yeah.
something that I think the board might like to hear about, is because they like seeing us getting out and stuff. So.
Oh yeah, we can definitely touch on that a little bit more for the board meeting.
Does anyone else have any questions? All right. So, Ryan, I guess you're up.
All right, thanks, board. So yeah, I just want to, so you've got the advancement report, you've got the fiscal year 2024 advancement plan, which is an overall plan. Obviously, like most plans, it's sort of a guidepost. We don't follow it completely. There may be additions, there may be modifications, but it's nice to have a kind of a plan of what we see coming up and what we want to accomplish. Also put in some highlights just overall. Just want to go over some big picture things. So earned revenue is strong, both on the museum side and the foundation side. we're looking at, on page 5 of the advancement report, you can see there's a page dedicated to festival revenue and visitation. So we've already set a record for festival revenue in fiscal year 2023, and that's not even counting Reptile Festival. So that's great news. And we are projecting a record year for festival visitation with a very, very modest Reptile Festival. And realistically, it's going to be an easy record. So good news there, both in terms of revenue and visitation. We're also on the working with the foundation to secure a lot of partnerships and grants and memberships, things like that. So for festivals, for exhibits, for all these mission-based programs, there's been strong collaboration with the foundation, both for, like I said, grants, general donations, partnerships. A few examples, we're working with both Hooker Furnishings and Carter Bank and Trust for the Museums for All program. So I know you've heard a lot about that. Hooker Furnishings has been a longtime partner, and they just recently doubled their support. So thanks to the success of the program, made possible in large part by Hooker Furnishings, they are really excited, and they've doubled their support to $5,000 a year. Building on that, we're working with Carter Bank and Trust to also provide support for Museums for All, specifically at festivals. So thanks to Carter Bank and Trust, they're going to focus on the festival aspect of Museums for All. And with Carter Bank and Trust, they're a great partner. They're actually going to have several volunteers at Reptile Festival. So I think it's up to 5 or 6 employees. They'll have their Carter Bank and Trust shirts on. They're going to work and support all the different areas of the festival. So it's nice to bring that element in, not just the financial support, but also the volunteers as well. As far as grants, we've got several in process, everything from exhibits, research, education, and just general support. Researchers have a NSF grant, National Science Foundation grant for, it's a 3-year grant. It's right at $24,000 a year, and a portion of that is for the Wyoming dinosaur dig. So that's in partnership with the University of Lynchburg. But it's an overall pathways program, so it's meant to encourage college students to pursue careers in science. And so part of that is getting the hands-on experience in Wyoming, for a couple of weeks digging. So it's a nice partnership. It's nice revenue, and that'll take place in June and July this summer, the dinosaur dig. As far as education grants, working on several, a lot of that is timing. So you'll actually see on the report, the number's low on the advancement report, but a lot of that is timing. So we're working with Boxley, which has been a longtime partner, Monogram Loves Kids Foundation. So we're expecting for the 4th quarter to see a lot of that support come in, again, just based on timing. So thanks to that, we have scholarships for summer camps. We have scholarships for need-based programming just overall, but also for the coming school year. So Christy and her team are working directly with schools to communicate that, to work with the teachers to develop programs that fit with what the teachers want. So whether it's outreach at the museum, distance learning, whatever it might be, Christy and her team are really flexible in the format. Also things like Groupon. So you'll see that on page 3 of the advanced report. It's a small thing, but it's also a good indicator of sort of upcoming visitation. So what we've seen in the past is as we come up on a big festival, we see an uptick in Groupon revenue. And that usually correlates with really strong visitation at the festival itself. So we've seen it before Dino festivals, we've seen it before Dragon festivals, Bones and Booze, all these different really popular festivals. People tend to snatch up these Groupons and use them at the festival. So revenue is strong. We're actually approaching pre-pandemic levels for that. So that's kind of a, I guess, canary in the coal mine indicator. Not an exact science, but there is a strong correlation with that. That's a really broad overview of sort of recent pending support, both on the museum side and the foundation side. And I'm happy to answer any questions. That's a lot.
Hey, Cord and Nan, I'll just add that Lisa Carter always asks for this deep dive topic. So we kind of put our heads together last week, and we decided something we'll propose to her will be the history of our endowment. It is something that has gone pretty well over the last decade or so, going from pretty much nothing to us approaching $1 million. Ryan, did we get an update, a hard update? Because what we presented here was the last report from our CPA. I wasn't sure if you guys were having a phone call at some point about getting a hard value on what the value of the endowment is today.
I think the plan is Gary's just going to present it on Wednesday, so he'll pull up the value at 9 a.m. on Wednesday.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the good news there, like Joe mentioned, is this report is through March 31st. And so based on the early discussions with our endowment manager, the value is well up just since March 31st. So of course we report by quarter and it changes hourly, but yeah, the good news, it's on the uptick. So hopefully it won't go down before Wednesday.
Nice.
No, I think that's a really good idea, to kind of give the board a, perspective on the endowment. I know I would find it interesting.
I think that's a great point, Ann, and that's what we try to approach it as, is the perspective. So if you look at, $1 million endowment is one thing to one organization, and it might be something totally different to another, but what we're focusing on is the growth and the perspective of where we've come from in a very relatively short amount of time. So I think it's a great story, great news.
Yeah, and I think that's how we always present it too. When we talk to, even before I was on this committee, was we started out here and now we're here, and it's always looked really good. I don't think anybody has asked, well, how it get done. I don't think it really matters as long as it's growing.
Right.
Yeah, it's been growing recently through periodic gifts, mainly through planned giving. So we have estates that settle up, and those take variable amounts of time. In fact, Ryan, wasn't the last one, it was broken up into 3 gifts over time because of the legal details associated with that estate?
That's right. Yeah. So we got an initial gift, and then there were some expenses that need to be taken care of by the administrator. And yeah, like Joe said, that sometimes they come in increments, and it might be spread out over 2 years. It might be upfront, depending on how the gift is made, whether it's insurance, that tends to be kind of an upfront, pretty quick process. But, so yeah, we just we keep an eye on it, and we have sort of a pipeline, and kind of plan for it accordingly.
Nice. Well, do you want to talk about upcoming events? Because I know we got a big one coming up.
Sure. So obviously this weekend, Friday and Saturday, we have our Reptile Festival. This is the first ever 2-day Reptile Festival. It's also the first one ever held in April. So really excited. It's going to be, like I said, Friday and Saturday. It's indoor outdoor. So similar to like Dragon Festival, Bones and Booze. We'll have outdoor elements, the large tent out front. We'll have lots of vendors, activities under the large tent. Admissions will be taken out at Starling Avenue. So we'll have also the indoor elements. So hopefully that's going to allow people to spread out and, not be too shoulder to shoulder. But we anticipate a big crowd. So the last Reptile Festival we had was a big crowd. And that part of the reason for doing a 2-day festival is because of that. It's a popular topic, historically strong visitation. So with the setup, with just the overall layout, we feel like we're really prepared for a large crowd as best we can be. Our biggest 2-day festival historically was last July 2022, which was our Dino Festival, and we had just over 4,600 visitors. So no guarantees, but based on the social media sort of outreach, anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000 or more or less, you just never know, but we anticipate a strong crowd. So.
Ryan, if I could just add, I just want to point out that, we often get opinions from foundation board members or trustees, basically about some of the logistics. In other words, I just want to say straight out that the staff, as we put our heads together, we're not just randomly placing festivals on particular months. we do shift things around as we learn more. So the reason that Reptile Festival is in April is that the live animal components, the live animal programs are huge. They're hugely popular, and they're one of our biggest draws, and therefore have a direct tie to our revenues for the weekend. That said, when we've tried to run these programs down in our combined classrooms, we can only fit a small percentage of people in those spaces. So we've moved it to April, and weather's a little more forgiving. It might rain, we get that, but that's why we're putting the tents out in the parking lot. We're going to be setting the stage up, and we'll be able to accommodate many more visitors per program. And at the same time, too, as opposed to doing it in, say, January, which we've done in the past, we can't really have these live animals, these reptiles and amphibians out in the wintertime. So we've had some comments in the past, and, you know, the decision making gets a little complicated. For instance, you know, at one meeting, we had a very active trustee suggesting, you know, Bugfest was in, what was that? Everyone, was that January when we had Bugfest? And I know that's counterintuitive because, you know, you like to get some live material out of the field and bring it in. You can't necessarily do that, but it's kind of give and take. So while doing Bugfest now in April would probably be a lot more conducive to the topic, the Reptile Festival is the much larger draw. And so we're making sacrifices like that. So I just wanted to point out that there is reasoning and rhyme and reason to why we do what we do when we do, you know, the different festivals and so forth.
Yeah, and I want to point out too, I know I talked about it already, but thanks to a series of grants, partnerships, support, working with the foundation, we're able to a lot of times really make a lot of revenue before we even open the doors that day. So that allows us to add new elements, like Joe said, where there's new partners, new elements, new experiences, whatever that might be. It adds to the educational components, you know, science outreach, all the things that we do festivals for, and obviously revenue. So I think it's a really good example of how the foundation can work with the museum for success. So everything from, like I said, the grants and partnerships, but also the very fact that we can use Square to do admissions outside at the road, that is because of the foundation. So the state doesn't allow the Square element. So we're able to run the admissions through the foundation, and then of course do the transfer after the fact to the museum, which is why the foundation exists. It exists to support the museum, and that's another example of how it does it. Just a few other things, not necessarily events, but just different initiatives. So we are just wrapped up our upgrade of our Wi-Fi system. So it's been a long process. It was very much out of date. And so the state provides a hardwired connection. That is our Vita network. Every office has that connection. But obviously it's nice to have good Wi-Fi that staff can use for in the exhibits, in the collections, out at the parking lot when we do festivals, things like that. So working with the city, we've got an entirely new Wi-Fi system, both for the public, which is non-password protected, but also a staff element, which is password protected. And within that, we've also got special access for CHML. So CHML has their own password, their own additional security measures, and we can add to that as we grow. We can add additional access points. So we're very excited about that. So far, so good, and hopefully it works really well the day of the board meeting. So other sort of initiatives, we're in the process with the foundation to upgrade our donor database system. So we've been longtime customers of Blackbaud, which is a very common donor database system. We're upgrading to something called DonorSnap. Not only is it a donor database, but it also includes new elements for donor outreach. So we can do some text messaging campaigns. We can do some improved renewal letters, renewal notices, general marketing outreach. So we're very excited about that. That's in process right now, and it will officially transition over as of July 1st. But we're using these months to kind of test it out and make sure everything's running seamlessly. Joe mentioned the endowment, so we are quietly looking at doing some sort of celebration or commemoration for once we reach the $1 million mark. Obviously, that's, you know, it's hard to nail down exactly the $1 million mark, and it doesn't really matter if it's one day or the following week, but just the very idea that was, it's been a long time goal. So most likely it's going to be calendar year 2024. We'll just keep an eye on things and probably go ahead and set a date where we can plan properly, anticipating that the amount will be that. So if that makes sense. So whether it's spring 2024, fall 2024, we'll make sure that we plan with the foundation, with the trustees, get everybody's involvement, and not so much looking backwards, but looking forward. What does this mean for the museum, and what are our next big goals? So very excited about that. Dinosaur Discoveries. So our new exhibit is going well. It's drawn lots of new visitors. Revenue is great. So Jonathan talked about that. Admissions revenue, retail revenue, it's all very strong. Combination of things, festivals, but also the new exhibit as well. So and we have our next exhibit that Jonathan also mentioned, opening early 2024. So our exhibit schedule is set through early 2025, which sounds far out, but we'll pretty soon be looking at what comes next. What's the 2025 to 2026 exhibit. And the very last thing I'll mention is the 2024 advancement plan. Talk about it just briefly, but that's encourage you to read through it. If you see any elements missing or if you have any questions, please let me know. But that's, again, kind of a plan for the foundation and also the museum, and how we can work together and how we can accomplish all these mission-based goals and objectives. So any questions on all that? It's a lot of stuff.
That gets us through 4 of our things. Okay. 2024 budget.
All
Thank
right.
you. Go ahead, Jonathan.
You share screen again, jump on
Yes,
that.
sir.
Favorite part. All right. Everybody see me okay? Try to adjust where you guys are on my screen so I can see the numbers. There we go. All right. So general appropriation is just right on track. It's in the budget language, 3.2 million. We've been above 3, 2 years running. They haven't seen fit to reduce it any, which is awesome. The appropriation stands at 0. We won't know until August or September whether that appropriation is coming through or not. Just speaking on the budget really quickly, got with the budget analyst. As far as they know, even in the budget office, we will just continue on track with the previously signed budget. So every 2 years, there's the big budget that they sign. So no major adjustments there, no surprises. They're working out a few of the details before the governor gives his okay on this round. And no increase, no decrease. State employees are still set to get the 5% increase. As far as a raise goes, that'll be the first paycheck in August. So it won't come out of the July budget, but it'll come out of the August budget, which is a little too in the weeds for you guys. Like I was talking about before, admissions looking really good this year. So next year, like I said, we threw out the COVID years, and then we extended it to a 5-year average. And then over those 5 years, we tend to see a 12% growth rate. I think consistently, we're going to see a 12% growth rate for the next few years. But we're really excited about that. As far as I guess our concern coming out of COVID was that people were not in the habit of getting out again. And this year kind of proved that people are willing to go to festivals and be around people and enjoy the amenities that we can provide for the Commonwealth and all the surrounding states. So that's really exciting. Christie's set again, receipts from city and county. Then here you see the adjustment we made. Talking to Hayden, approximately half of what he received last year, he'll receive the same amount again this year. And this figure will have in it the trip to Wyoming that Ryan touched on with the grant dollars supporting that trip. Then here, the rentals again back up post-COVID, excited to get people out, having parties, gatherings, local organizations coming out. Museum souvenir sales really more of a reach goal here. I think the product mix is right. And I think with Robbie's growing experience in the store, I think ordering and getting inventory levels to where they need to be for the year. Cost is always a factor, but I think that, the store, we'd like to sell out everything, but knowing that there's a potential that we need to overstock to not sell out of everything to generate those souvenir sales and revenues to get them where we want them. I think this is more of a reach goal, but excited to put it out there for him and kind of challenge him to get there in sales, classrooms, workshops. Again, Chrissy and her team doing a great job. We have Jordan on staff now, so another educator here. That definitely helps take the burden off, but also increases the number of classes we can do. Then you see the salaries, rounding that out, this 5% increase, and then year over year, it's down a little bit, even with the 5% increase, but we've had some senior staff turnover. Jessica in exhibits, we've hired a new exhibit coordinator. So those higher salaries kind of retired off the books. So we brought back people in and fit them into those positions with the starting salaries. Utilities just forecasted. It's going to be down year over year. The ESCO project's really coming through. We are planning to continue work and renovations on the Douglas Avenue building. So we will be stepping into the next part of that plan, trying to get that building envelope secure, so we can get some collections over there, storage. Just for instance, books here. This is nothing's written in stone for this. So if you guys have any suggestions or recommendations as far as, I know staff training 2 years ago was a topic at the board meeting. We've increased our budget for that. We've had some staff take advantage of that, especially in education, certificates, training. As far as I'm certified in CPR, I think there's another 20 or so staffers with me doing that class. So if there's anything you guys can think of or want to point us in the direction of there, excited to hear that input. And everything else just kind of rounds out the year. Let's see, exhibit and exhibit rentals. Part of that is historically we've had, over the past 2 years, we've had some additional funds because of the senior staff that have retired. Remember 3-4 years ago, we had Jim Beard leave. We've had a couple others make their retirements kind of permanent there, and just that the exhibit rentals and the festivals. So going forward, we're going to split more so the big exhibits the traveling exhibits that Ryan organizes into O2 funds and O1 funds. So the O1 funds there, you'll see approximately half. It's roughly $100,000 to bring those exhibits in every year. So just as an estimate, placeholder $50,000 to cover half of those expenses. Yeah, I think that kind of wraps everything up. If anybody has any questions.
Nothing? All right, well, I guess I got for exhibits and stuff, I think I might have brought this up several years back, but does the museum ever work with the Y's itself? Like I know that the Y in Martinsville, they're doing their Healthy Kids Day on the 29th, I believe, of this month. And I was just wondering if somebody reached out and said, hey, would y'all like to bring, kind of like Darva goes to a lot of these things and takes exhibits and has an educator and talks about stuff, because it's something, I'm just wondering if that's something that we might get into.
Yeah, Cord, I'm not gonna, I can't speak to the specific Y event. Our educators, our marketing program, and our curators do go to a lot of different events. And of course, prior to COVID, it was even broader. You might remember that we used to go to the Danville movie theater when there were, these movies that had to do with Megalodon or dinosaurs or something, and we set up these events. And so there's a long habit of that. If there's specific events that you think would be beneficial for us to collaborate with please just reach out to us. Again, we weren't aware, or at least I wasn't aware. Someone can speak up if you know more than I do, but the 29 April event, that's new to me. All that said, 29 April is also, we'll be up at Riverfest in Waynesboro.
Mhm.
So we're going to be having a pretty significant outreach component to that day. So I don't know that we'll participate this year, but it'd be something to be nice that's on our radar if we can certainly help out.
Right. I think these little things that the different Ys or other people do that we can get out there in, you know, even if it's just for 2 hours,
Yeah.
name recognition. I know one of the things that we're trying to do, maybe as a topic for our summer camp kids and our after school kids, is if they go out and join, say, the Danville Science Center, Virginia Museum of Natural History or something, then we'll give a discount to our programs. So
Nice.
it's something that benefits both programs and it fits our educational component for us. And then we got people that are willing to give scholarships, so we don't lose a lot of money there. We can say, hey, if it costs you $60 a week for after school, if you join the Virginia Museum of Natural History, we'll only charge you $50 a week.
Yeah.
They come out way ahead and they get the benefit of both now. So, I mean, there's different things that we're trying to do. I know at our offsites, in order to go to one of our offsites, they have to join the PTO at that school. And they have to go to X amount of meetings to get the discounts. Because that way I know that they're involved in their school and they're involved in stuff going on along with our program. So it benefits both the school and us. So I'd like to do some stuff like that, maybe with the museum, with our kids, and just say, hey, join the museum and we're going to give you X amount off here. And it works out best for everybody.
That sounds awesome. Please just keep the information flowing and we'll plug it into our calendar. So.
Okay, sounds great. And then I want to go back to one thing really quick because I'm going to bring this up at the meeting for Art, the Wi-Fi. That's set, done, and so when we go to our next meeting, I can say, Art, look here, man, check this out. Because that's always been a big thing with Art over the last 2 or 3 meetings. He's really pushed this Wi-Fi and internet and stuff. So I want to be able to talk to him about that. So
Yeah, it's been it's definitely finished. There are
Okay.
There's one access point in the basement that the city is finishing up, but it's very specific to the loading dock to a couple of offices. But
Nice.
everything else is up and running. We've got administrative access. We can actively monitor how things are running. We've got a system now to report outages, to put in tickets. Whereas before we were, for whatever reason, doing a lot of troubleshooting in-house, and we're past that. We've grown as an organization. So yeah, we've got
Great.
Wi-Fi for the public, Wi-Fi for staff, Wi-Fi specifically for CHML and other more highly secure access points.
Awesome.
And it's quality too. Yeah, good, not just reliable, but fast. So we're very pleased.
That's great.
Thanks, Cord. We appreciate you backing us up on that.
That's right. Just all right. Well, this was a great meeting. Does anybody have any questions or comments, recommendations on anything else or anything we went over?
I just have one last comment that
Okay.
pertains to our strategic plan. We do have an ad hoc reaccreditation committee together. And I just want to point out that these meetings are important to that reaccreditation because we're going to be taking the cumulative information that Ryan and Jonathan manage on a daily basis to put into the chapter on finances, as well as to our nonprofit support, that is the foundation. And one thing they do look at is, board oversight and participation and so forth. So while a lot of times I know these guys are throwing out mind-numbing numbers and stuff like that, but it is going to come up to a product that in 2025, when we submit our reaccreditation report to American Alliance of Museums, that we'll have all those I's dotted and T's crossed. So just so you understand that there's an added invisible layer of value to all of this.
Awesome. All right. Well, if nobody else has any questions, I'd say we adjourn the meeting.
All right. Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Cord. Very
All
much
right.
appreciate your time.
It
All
was
right,
good
Kurt.
to see everybody.
Yeah, you
Yes.
too.
Bye.
Take it easy. Talk
Have
soon.
a great day.
You as well. Bye.
Thank you.